Hello and welcome to CounterPick New Perspectives. I am the Scuff Doctor, Daniel Ray, and with me is my co-host.
I am working on my tagline, Professor Prime.
Yep. And this is, like I already said, CounterPick New Perspectives, where our focus is on talking about various topics around gaming and entertainment as the vehicle for that, but bringing new perspectives to said topics, because we see a lot of echo chambers online, and we make it our goal to illuminate some other sides of the dice, so to speak. I just pulled that off the top of my head. I don't know why I said dice, but you know how it is. This is usually more than just your brain.
You didn't want to say coin.
Exactly, because that's a little too simplistic.
My brain literally just straight up stalled when you pulled out your thing. I was like, oh yeah, I do not have a tagline in mind. I'm workshopping it. I'm like, Spider-Man.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we try to, we're just trying to bring some nuance to different conversations. So, yeah. So today's topic was Thai's idea.
Yep.
So it was inspired by something he brought up. And do you wanna intro it?
Yeah, I guess so. So, I was thinking, I mean, I've thought of this, topic a few times. One time, you know, had a bit of a conversation at work and whatnot, because there's another geek there. We have conversations. Honestly, gotta entertain ourselves somehow. But and you know, other stuff I saw in the entertainment sphere, which we will get to. But the thought was, what is for adults and what is for kids? You know, and all of the things that have to do with that, the perception mainly of, you know, what is for different ages.
Different target audiences, right?
Yeah.
And because there's often a lot of how do I say, we're not mincing words here, misconceptions, objectively incorrect preconceived notions about target demographics, particularly around age.
Yeah.
And what we see a lot is, because what really got this going for Sai in his mind was people's approach, and not just in the general audiences, but like even in the, I guess what you would call the elite, quote, air quotes. I can't do air quotes, but you know, the quote upper crust, end quote, around things like awards shows and stuff, and how they treat or how they perceive mediums such as animation.
Oh, I forgot about that. Honestly, that was not what I was thinking about when I brought this up, but that too.
Oh, okay. Well, no, because when we were workshopping the idea, you did bring that up.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, because
multiple aspects. There are multiple.
Put simply, a lot of people, they seem to treat animation as in a very simplified two sides of a coin way. Either it's for children or it's quote adult animation, end quote. You really don't have much of the in between anymore, right? The stuff that is for general audiences, as in appeals to everyone, people of all ages. You don't get much of that anymore in terms of, like, you know, the bigwigs who greenlight things in what they allow to be made. But you also don't get this. It seems like the people's ability to accept animation as something that can be for both at the same time it's like a dying perception, right?
Well, see, now I had a lot of different angles in my head,
mm-hmm.
but now that you laid out like that, yeah, it comes to mind. Basically, there are, I guess, 3 avenues.
Mm-hmm.
The way I think about it, that we could talk about this, right? From the people who greenlight entertainment,
mm-hmm.
from the people who create the entertainment, and from the end of the consumer, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So I don't know which end of this hydra we want to start at.
Okay, so the main example that you brought up, I think the first direction to attack that from would probably be from the upper management, the people who are in charge of the green lighting and the marketing.
Yeah, well, in that case, what brought this to mind was Transformers 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've been a lifelong fan of Transformers. If you can't tell from the prime in my name. Yeah, I've been watching it ever since, honestly, probably before I can remember. Playing with the toys, all of that. So, but for one thing, just the climate of the movies, I had long since lost interest since the later Michael Bay movies. The movie Bumblebee was good. Like it was a solid 6 out of 10, but after so much slop, like if you've been eating out of a trash can for 2 years, then a McDonald's hamburger is gonna taste like heaven, So,
you were like in the Iron Man movie, right? After he came back from being stuck in the cave, so I was like, first thing, I need a hamburger or a cheeseburger.
I want an American cheeseburger. Yeah.
Yes, that was the first thing he wanted, American cheeseburger.
And then for various reasons, I wasn't even interested in Rise of the Beasts, because from everything I saw, that one seemed like they were trying to do a Michael Bay, but without the Michael Bay. So a little hollow. Because I mean, for all of Michael Bay's weirdness, and I could go at length, but at least he was stellar in the region of pure spectacle.
Bayhem,
like
right?
They call it Bayhem. Yes.
Yeah.
But so I was just coming into this with Transformers 1 coming out. I wasn't interested. Particularly with the first trailer. And a lot of people might know what I'm talking about there. That first trailer made it seem like schlock, stupid kiddie movie. Even to me. And and we
tend to look at things like that with a lot more nuance.
Yeah, I'm not going to be dismissing it based on, it's animation, because I love a good animated movie, but it just the tone of it and everything that they leaned on, and half of the scenes, at least half of the scenes that they put in the trailer that were really groan worthy when watching the trailer, they actually were not bad in the greater context of the movie. Just
also in general, just less prevalent.
Yeah. So the one of the issues is the advertisers, which from everything I heard, I believe the people in charge of advertising it actually got fired for such a big blunder. I didn't do research going into this episode, but that is what I heard.
I can believe it.
Yes, it is very believable. That's the point.
Yeah.
And it also didn't help that now, no shade to Keegan-Michael Key. I think he actually did a really good job as Bumblebee in the movie. Just with the whole tone of the trailer, the incidental comparisons to the Super Mario Brothers movie, in my mind, didn't really help. Because coincidentally, having another comedic relief character voiced by Keegan-Michael Key with the whole goofy tone and whatnot, the unserious tone worked for a Super Mario Bros. Movie because nobody really expects.
It's not Shakespeare.
You got Mario. Yeah.
You got Mario, you got Peach, you got Bowser, you got Luigi, you got at least one talking toad that's in the main supporting cast, and you pretty much got it made.
The main toad, the brave toad. Yeah. But so, I don't think you've even watched...
I haven't. I actually haven't seen that movie.
It's good. It's enjoyable. It's not stellar, but they did what you'd expect for a...
We'll have to watch it sometime.
Mario is Mario. It's not... It's you don't really go to Mario looking for something excellent, but like,
Yeah.
you know, it's the comfort food of video games. So like, you know, it was just nice, cheesy, enjoyable entertainment. But so the big problem there, right, I would say, is the advertisers, which are pretty close to like the higher ups, right? Seemed to look at this movie and say, oh, animated movie, let's market it to children. That's it. And you know, the like parents, the mothers who are going to be taking her kids to the movie, you know?
Yeah.
And then, well, okay. And then I don't know if I should
So what I'm
spoil a little bit. Where
Okay.
I saw a scene of it on Twitter, and that's actually what made me go and watch the movie. It's like, not to spoil anything, a very impassioned speech from you know, the bot that will be known as Megatron later.
Yeah.
Not to spoil anything, but like, again,
The bot who would become Megatron.
You know, Orion packs Sasuke if he wants to stop him. And he's just, no, I want to kill him.
Yeah.
And like going on a tirade of like, no, I don't just want to stop him. I want to show everyone what a
fraud he is.
Yeah, what a fraud and
then
terrorism
eliminate
he
him.
is. And like, it was just an explosion of like, you don't see something like that from movies that are just aimed at children.
Yeah, because they don't want to. Yeah, because if it's truly made for kids, they generally don't want to show an example of an angry outburst for kids to imitate.
Yeah, but so
yeah, and from what I've heard, like the movie gets very deep actually, and like the moment.
Well, I mean, there's literally themes of classism.
Yeah, they basically front loaded all of the dumb moments into one trailer, and that happened to be the first trailer they showed, which was just a failure of marketing. And it just goes to show, though, because the thing is, who is, generally speaking, the people in charge of marketing and budget and greenlighting projects,
like the thing that they're greenlighting or marketing,
or they don't get it.
Like, get whatever, it's all kind of the same. They don't take it in because they only speak money, you know, and numbers.
Basically.
So, and there's, I mean, this is not new. There's been always kind of a misconception that that animation is somehow a genre when it's actually a medium.
Yeah,
you know, it'd be like saying every painting is the same or every book is the same. It's not, you know.
True.
But yeah,
and the problem is too that misconception that animation, because it's not live action, it is inherently more juvenile, and often in like the awards shows, like the Emmys and the Oscars, particularly the Oscars, they get snubbed.
Animation categories.
No, the main problem is there are animation categories. The problem is that's all they get.
Oh, true.
The problem is that they don't get put on the same, not put on the same level, the even playing field with the rest. Like, you rarely, over the history of these Hollywood award shows or whatever, you rarely see situations of animated movies being put up against live action movies and given a fair shot at winning. And even if they are, then they get snubbed, right? So it's like, because the people who are in charge of the voting, the judges, are the same kind of people who see animation as more juvenile and less art. Yeah. Even though technically they're more art in some ways, because they're literally dependent on the art rather than the actor, right? Now, you're not an actor on screen, you're art moving on screen, so to speak.
But also, okay, so to I
by literal definition,
a little bit of a example or experiment. Okay, so bear with me here. Follow me. We're going to do a little bit of a
thought experiment,
word association. Okay. Just so, like, I'm going to say something, a word, and then you say a word that is not the thing I said.
Okay.
Right? All right. Left.
Right.
Red.
Blue.
Walk.
Run.
Up.
Down.
adult?
Child.
Exactly. People tend to think in dichotomies, even when there isn't necessarily one.
True.
So this bridges into my next point, because the rise of adult animation did what? Furthered the idea that animation that is not labeled adult is for children.
Yeah, that's true. I totally get you there. Yeah.
My main example, always being Rick and Morty.
Oh,
now,
gosh, yeah.
From what I know about Rick and Morty, it can explore like interesting ideas and philosophies and such, but it also does lean on crass humor, explicit, in ways, certain explicit as well as gore, swearing, all.
Yeah.
And the more that became accepted, right, and just done more, the more often, people in the general audience who are uninformed, right, are going to see that and be like, okay, that is animation for adults. And that's going to just latch onto the natural human reaction of thinking of things in dichotomies.
True.
Where everything else that doesn't share those traits is for children. But there's things like, and my example of something from back in the day that was general audiences, that's enjoyable by children, and honestly, in a lot of the time, even more enjoyable and has more layers that you find when you go back as an adult. Batman the Animated Series.
True. And a lot of shows in that era.
Heart of Ice, the Mr. Freeze episode, it won a Daytime Emmy Award for outstanding writing in an animated program.
That's true.
As well as the episode that I always go back to, which is a bit more obscure, Baby Doll, which explores themes of what happens to child actors who basically become known for one thing, and then they're never able to grow up because their life they get stunted by that one thing early in their life being the only thing that gives them like worth and fame, as well as other things. But like, the creativity thrives in limitation, whether that limitation is set on that person or people by themselves or someone else. But when you have the option to go for the most shocking, easiest way to do something, then you don't have as much prompt to be creative.
True.
And I guess this is my episode. I'm just gonna go, you be me and tell me when I'm talking too much. But this reminds me of another thing that I was going to say, because you saw in my the Amazing Digital Circus theory, right?
Yeah.
But the episode that came after that, right? Episode 3, because I mentioned they were going to be on Netflix, coinciding with the release of episode 3.
Yeah.
And this is not any shade toward Gooseworks and Glitch or any of them, right? I kind of understand why they did this. I personally was not a fan of the aesthetics, the visuals of episode 3, because it was very horror themed. I mean, I think you could tell from like my whole aesthetic being a mad scientist supervillain. I'm much more into sci-fi.
Yeah. As am I.
But yeah, now it's technically not. It technically isn't anything supernatural that happens in the episode, because it's all inside a digital simulation anyway.
Yeah.
Just not a fan of the aesthetics, but can tell that the show is going to like ping pong between different various themes as they go on different adventures. But what I suspect is the reason why they did that particular episode for episode 3 exactly when they're going on Netflix is to try to get past that preconception of animation being for children, even though the prior 2 episodes already had themes of nihilism, not nihilism, existentialism. Yeah, existential dread and you know, toxic positivity, you know, like
true. Like, yeah, it was pretty.
Yeah, like there wasn't anything that was like, you know, visually like somebody who isn't in the know looks at it and thinks, oh, that's definitely not for kids, right? Plus, they don't actually have swearing in the show, funnily enough, because the program that they're inside censors them.
Yeah.
Censors their swearing, at least. So, but getting on Netflix, right? You're in front of the eyes of a lot more of the general audience. And so, got to come out there swinging with a, hey, we're definitely not for children. Please give this a chance. You know, like really go edgy. And I haven't watched it yet, but the trailer for episode 4 just released today, actually. Yeah. And
I haven't watched it either.
It's something to do with them working at a fast food place. So like they're going back to the other wacky.
Yeah.
Know? So like I don't begrudge them for doing that, because it's not, they didn't create the problem. They're just, you know, trying to get their
and you're totally right, because like even in just like the content creation space, I've noticed that like it's so hard to find people like, you know, people like myself, because nobody really even how do I put this? There's an idea, like especially let's say in the VTuber scene, right? There's that same kind of dichotomy, right? Where you have those who are more 18 plus in their speech and behavior, and possibly even the subject matter or content of the content they do, right?
Right.
And then you have the other side of the coin, which people tend to view as aimed at children and lesser, or, you know, juvenile, and therefore less worth their time. And so it seems like advertising that aspect of yourself, you know, in my case, I use the term all ages because I try to get the idea across that my content is not aimed at children, but is safe for them generally. Maybe not young children. I'm not, you know, definitely, I don't think some of the games I play are safe for like preschoolers, obviously. And I'm not aiming for that audience. Yeah. But, you know.
Man, Coco Melon.
Yeah. God. Ugh. But like, you know, YouTube as a platform, when you sign up, it's supposed to be like 13 and up, right? I think Twitch is supposed to be 16 and up or something like that. Yeah. So if you're like, you know, basically those between 13 and 18 aren't going to find stuff in my content that their parents wouldn't want them to see or hear, you know? So, you know, it's safe for the younger audience, but I don't target them. I treat them with the same level of respect as the adult viewers that I have, in that I don't dumb down my content, my speech, my behavior for the younger audiences, even though as a person, myself in my daily life, and you are the same way because we both were brothers, we grew up in the same environment, we don't use profanity or innuendo or anything like that. So that kind of stuff isn't going to make our content, you know, inherently any form of NSFW. But we're not talking down to anyone. We're not aiming at children. We have deep conversations. That's what we do in this podcast. We get into some very complicated, complex, and nuanced topics that, generally speaking, requires a certain baseline level of intelligence and or maturity to be able to grasp. We are not juvenile content creators, but we're safe for the younger viewers. That is the definition of all ages. Or in the case of, like, say, movie ratings, rated G, general audiences, as in all ages, same exact meaning.
Yeah.
Game ratings, E for everyone. And back in the day, before the ESRB, E for everyone used to be called K to A. K-A, kids to adults.
Right.
As in, kids can enjoy it and adults can enjoy it. It doesn't mean it's aimed at children only. People so often mistaken not being 18 plus as being juvenile, but it is objectively an incorrect notion.
Now, it's funny that you use a certain phrase, because I was going to field an idea. Do you think that the term general audiences would be more marketable than all ages? Because I was thinking maybe all ages still makes people think, oh, well, for kids, but like general audiences would maybe sound a little more distinguished and make and not make certain kinds of people immediately think of children's content.
Interesting. I don't know, because people still do treat G-rated movies as kids movies, so I don't think that necessarily is a solution for content creation.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying rated, because G-rated sounds different than general audiences.
True.
And there was just a thought that maybe that would be more marketable than like Say So or all the
which is, as a term, Say So has been so muddled and what's the word I'm looking for? Made disambiguous or ambiguous. Sorry.
Yeah,
made so ambiguous.
It's been ambiguized.
Yeah.
It's all of the ambiguous.
Even though the meaning is super cut and dry, if you actually think about it, the original meaning being clean, as in like, cleanliness. But if you use the term clean for one's speech or behavior, it clearly tells you what to expect. The meaning is the same.
Say So is never going to be largely marketable anyway, because only people who are in on it get it, and then a bunch of the people who know are going to be in on a joke of like different people who say like, oh, so
quote Say So end quote, as in they're not.
There's no point in using it.
The well has been thoroughly poisoned on terms like that, unfortunately. Heck, I've seen the well poisoned on the term family friendly. They're doing the same thing.
Well, because like I said, with the similar to the false dichotomy instinct, right? I think it's a general association instinct to hear the word family and think of children, because children are kind of what make a family in
the minds of many.
Mind,
even though it's objectively not correct, because in my example, myself and my wife, we're a family.
Just like, just
there's no children in the mix. We're two adults. We're a family.
I know where you're coming from.
Most people, they don't see it that way. I get it.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from, because like all ages literally means everybody is welcome. But especially when dealing with the general audience, you can't just necessarily go by definition. You also have to go by association of thoughts. I guess it's a vibes based system. So
basically,
I was thinking,
and you have to that
vibe.
Yeah, and you have to
it sounds
base it. Yeah, and the thing is, you have to base it on not. You can't base. That's the problem with marketing. You can't base it on. You can't even base marketing on objectivism. You can't base it on objective fact. You have to base it on the lowest common denominator.
Look, to be fair, all human beings have knee-jerk reactions, and a lot of the knee-jerk reactions are going to be determined by
the subjective
by the common cultural
norm,
mindset, zeitgeist, all of that.
Yeah.
So
the group think that we make concerted efforts to not get swept up into anything.
you have to get into those levels of Yomi and be like, when I say something, what is this person going to think? And that's marketing, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And that is one thing I would definitely say I'm not as good at, because my brain does work differently, just as a fact. I mean, I don't exactly parade this around, but I'm also not ashamed of talking about it. But I have Tourette's syndrome. My brain is literally biologically wired differently. So there is a measure of disconnect in how I perceive things and how the majority of people perceive things.
Yeah. Well, I to an extent, I understand, like, I have issues with people, like, when I'm having, like, a conversation, because a lot of the time, for some reason, people will try to think up meanings to what I'm saying. When
impute motive.
Read my words. I said exactly what I mean. But when I look at things from a distance, and I'm like, if I say this, what are people going to think of, or what are people going to take it from? Like, not in active participation, but in, like, basically turn-based. I like beforehand. I think I can analyze that pretty well.
Yeah,
I can look at, like, the how people generally tend to think of things. And so I think general audiences may actually be a good marketing for people like us,
Yeah, that makes some sense. That's something to possibly look into. Something I've been wanting to do, if I could at some point, was like talk with someone who actually has experience in marketing and see what kind of suggestions they would have for someone like me. But regardless, this is a topic that I think it reaches so many different mediums and avenues of entertainment. To kind of get back on the main topic, so we've gotten into the medium of animation, which is not a genre, a medium, just like how VTubing itself is a medium, right? It's just a way of presenting ourselves to the audience, to the viewers, rather than a genre, right? Because, like, myself, I am very much closer to what you would expect from a regular webcam using streamer, but because of my Tourette's, using a webcam exacerbates my tics. So using an avatar actually allows me to relax more and be more genuine. And just in general, just bring out more energy, right? More of myself. Interestingly enough, not having a webcam on me allows me to be more myself. But
for me, it's more just like the like creative potential that it like the skit that I did for my digital.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's another good reason
like
for
that.
it. Yeah. And it's a medium that allows you to do things that would be harder to do live action, or if you tried to do it live action, it could come across kind of cringe. Right.
More cringe. I mean, maybe some people cringe at my, but I've got the pictures and whatnot. So like I'm just
and then
my room.
Yeah, exactly. And then but there is a measure of
on the wall or something.
There is a measure of treatment where VTubers are treated as inherently more juvenile or less valid, right? By general audiences. Those outside of the uninitiated, basically, those outside of the already pre-existing VTuber watching audience, and like those who are in charge of things like award shows, like the Streamer Awards or whatever.
Well, I mean, once again, it comes down to association, right?
Exactly.
What do people associate certain like mediums or areas or whatnot with based on what they've seen, right? And like for instance, if like you see the average person, right, for a while, was it Cartoon Network was pushing Teen Titans Go hard.
God.
So a lot of people, when they see a cartoon being taught on TV, you're gonna see Teen Titans Go, and obviously they're not going to have any reason to think that's for adults.
Yeah.
The people making it like just intentionally made just absolute slop and like hyperactivity fuel for children because, heaven forbid we give the children something thought provoking. Like, and that's another thing. Okay, that's another thing. People don't get. They don't remember how it was to be a child. Children don't ask for this shallow crap. They want to be challenged. They want something that they don't quite understand yet, but they can reach for it. Actually, funny thing, there was a video I watched about a short-lived toy that was marketed really hard for like 1 year. It was some kind of kapunk. It was this.
Okay.
Yeah, it was basically gamified beer pong, obviously without the beer. Like a can with a cool like graffiti sort of design on it. There were a bunch of different ones you could collect with like cards of different ways to do the shots. But the relevant thing, okay, to what I'm talking about right here is it was aimed at like preteen, teen boys mainly, right? Okay. But the marketing, the people in marketing, right? Because the YouTuber making the video, I forget who it was, actually got to like interview some of the people that were involved with making this and marketing it. They said like kids, even like particularly boys, if I remember correctly, they want to aspire up. So you don't actually put people the same age as your target demographic kids in the commercials, but people who are older.
Oh,
so like,
yeah, that makes sense.
Like high school or college age guys, because that's what kids naturally aspire to. They want to act more grown.
Basically, the reason High School Musical hit it so big with the tweens.
Yeah. So when you give slop like Teen Titans Go, right, which is seemingly like designed to be for the age that they are, or maybe younger, like it's not something to aspire. Whereas like, many different shows, but especially like Batman the Animated Series, but also, I mean, you could tell I was really into superhero cartoons as a kid, but like Static Shock, Batman Beyond.
Oh gosh,
even
Static Shock even delved into like the topic of racism at one point.
Yes,
they did not talk down to their audience. They treated their audience with respect.
Yeah, in like a respectful way, and not like a browbeaty think this way only, like it as well. I mean, X-Men, Nightcrawler is a German Catholic. There was a whole episode where like where Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Rogue, and Gambit were all holed up in the like church or monastery that Nightcrawler lived in, right? I believe it was his introductory episode.
Yeah, it was.
And there was a whole like angry human mob, as there was in X-Men, and the different, the four of them like have multiple conversations about religion, and you would never be able to get that in a show nowadays.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Treating every side with respect and not demonizing anybody.
Pretty much, yeah.
And
that's absolutely true.
X-Men, that what a lot of people would say are for kids, because guess what? They were trying to sell X-Men toys.
Yep, and in those days, even in those days, if the toys and merchandise weren't selling, then the animated show would get canned.
And like and you can balance things, because you can have meaningful themes and things to talk about, and also give some good, entertaining like action and whatnot. And even if the kids don't understand all of the themes, when they watch it, they'll remember, and maybe they'll come back to it like. And be like, wow, this show is even better than I remembered. But I don't think
that's what we've done.
Anybody who grew up watching Teen Titans Go will ever go back to it and think this is better than I remembered. They will only say this is worse.
Dang, that's scathing, but I think you're not wrong. honestly.
I said what I said.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Like, and that's the thing. Just because it's not a real person on the screen, like a IRL person, doesn't mean that it's for kids, right? And that's what I think a lot of people, they seem to internalize this idea because, like, for example, and it comes in all sorts of forms.
Just because it's adult, quote unquote, animation doesn't mean that it's for adults. You know who watches like Rick and Morty en masse a lot of the time? Like teenage boys who want to act like they're cool.
Yeah.
For watching something that watching a cartoon that says bad words and has blood and
yeah, fair point.
And explicit material.
Yeah, no, you got a point there. Like, yeah.
Pretenders and wannabes.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, too.
And adults who never grew up.
That's what I was that kind of leads into what I was going to say, because a lot of times the things in people's minds that they categorize as, quote, adult, end quote, tend to actually be more of an immature idea of what mature is.
And that's why I also hate the phrase adult animation, because or like mature, because that gives the impression that it is above something else for having that in it. No, it's not. Okay. And I acknowledge, even though I don't watch these kinds of shows, the artistic value sometimes of well used shock value or whatever. Like, I don't want to name it, but like, there's an anime where like there's a very, very scary enemy, right? Actually, honestly, there are probably multiple, and they do something like very terrible and like disgusting, but like they do it to show you this person or this people are just absolutely atrocious. Like there is something to fear very much, and they give you something that is visceral, but they don't glorify it or make it seem cool. It is something to disapprove of, and there is a reason why this person or this people or whatever, they need to be taken down, right? Like I can respect it from afar. I'm not going to, take in that kind of entertainment just because of my personal values. But, there's something to be respected in that way. It's different from,
if it's more for the artistry rather than,
gore and
for the sake of it. Yeah. If there's a point to it, a story point to it, rather than just doing it for the heck of it.
Yeah, because it's cool or edgy.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'll name names in this case, but because this is more of a negative example, going back to kind of our podcast's roots with fighting games, but most fighting games, because most fighting games generally don't have a whole lot of
like the positive examples, because it's still not something that I would personally endorse.
So most fighting games are not really full of much in the way of like gore or anything like that. And yeah, and then you have the one that set itself apart by doing that, just for the sake of it, which is Mortal Kombat.
Yep.
And it's never appealed to me. And what's sad is I've played the Injustice games from the same developers and enjoyed them a lot more, because while there was some blood, it was much, much, much toned down. And
you also like turn certain things. You can turn off.
Not an Injustice, no. No, there was no toggles. However, it was so much more understated. It was so much less prevalent. And
there was not gore. There was not gore.
Exactly. And when you're and the gameplay wise, I actually kind of liked it. But so like
funky to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of enjoyed Injustice 2 particularly. But later, after they fixed Deadshot, because man. But that's a different topic altogether.
Top tier.
Yeah, that's another topic altogether. We've talked about that in the past, actually. But yeah, it's just Mortal
Check out
Kombat
our other episodes if
embodies
you want to see.
plug. But no, Mortal Kombat embodies the idea of, you know, having the shock value stuff just for the sake of it, and being mature, air quotes, in the immature idea of the term.
I'll say it, shock over substance.
Yeah.
There have been so many videos about Mortal Kombat's bad attack animation, the fence punching.
Gosh, yeah, like you're punching over fence.
Like and like the crouch, that one crouch kick where like you don't know how they're staying up, like they completely ignored gravity and the center of gravity. It's just such awkward animation, but it gets by.
Yeah, but yeah, and I've always seen
That's not even talking about art direction.
Yeah, the crazy,
very hit and miss.
Yeah, the crazy thing is like that series. I haven't seen it
hit and very miss.
Yeah, I've never seen it as more, or better for having that stuff. It's actually made me see it as less valuable and less appealing and like just more juvenile. Honestly, it's very crass. It can be very crass, very crude, and obviously very gory. And it just always struck me as juvenile rather than, other games that have zero blood, other fighting games that have zero blood, but are more sophisticated because they're more cerebral. They make you think more. They have more depth and nuance to them. And that's truly, by definition of maturity, that's more for the refined, the mature palate, right? Is the stuff that challenges you mentally. I mean, Virtua Fighter, I think, is much more of a mature person's fighting game than Mortal Kombat.
Well, we don't know that much about the mechanics, so...
Oh, no, I know plenty about the mechanics.
Okay.
I don't have to have played it to understand. I like, me, I like to know things. Even if it's not something I personally played, I like to at least know enough about it to have a relatively informed opinion. And so I know all sorts of stuff about the mechanics of those games.
Okay.
And some aspects of them have some merit, like some...
I mean, there was somewhere like you can select different specials and whatnot, or different
variations,
ways to play different characters.
Yeah, which was an interesting way of expanding your roster without having to expand your roster. And it was kind of creative,
like an extension of the ISM system of like old Capcom
versus SNK. Yeah,
SNK.
But yeah, it's and Street Fighter Alpha 3. But
well, I think it was in a Street Fighter game before
Alpha 3, before SNK and CBS. Yeah,
and then that one had the like CAP and SNK isms.
Mm-hmm. But like it was, it's creative. Some creative ideas, and like the meter burn system is interesting in like Injustice 2 and the games around that time, and instead of traditional EXs, and the way they implement
spending it on impact is
as a hit, it's making you have to do hit confirms in order to do the EX
awkward to me, but that's probably because I started with Street Fighter.
And then like also implementing 3D fighting game style combo strings.
Well, between the two, I started with Street Fighter,
But but
really
like
started with Soul Calibur 2, but that's
But NRS games implementing combo strings, a la Tekken and Virtua Fighter and those games of that ilk, right? In a 2D space. They had some
left field.
Okay,
right
what
now.
I was saying was they had some interesting ideas, but the packaging was just very immature, and just offered me no value.
Well, it was very edgy.
Yeah, edgy in the teenage edgy, not.
Oh, you've fallen into a pit of spikes. You're getting your spine ripped out. Oh, that's so cool. This definitely isn't like Street Fighter.
And edgy's not always bad,
I'm
right?
Cool kid.
Edgy's not always bad. Some edgy characters can be cool.
There are different kinds
or enjoyable, endearing in that way, right? Like you would consider characters like Dante and Virgil edgy in different ways, but they are fun characters, right? Everyone in the
Virgil is edgy. Dante is not.
True.
He's goofy.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
But the games are also edgy in a way because of the aesthetic.
Yeah. People joke about, Shadow the Hedgehog being edgy, the character, I mean. But look at all the excitement
of edgy in the game Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
Like people didn't realize Sonic Adventure 2 Shadow wasn't edgy at all.
True. And look at the excitement though for Sonic 3 movie, right? It's looking so good.
Yeah.
Another plug, reactions to those trailers on both of our channels and our impression thoughts.
Not on mine yet. I have to edit mine.
Okay.
Maybe it'll be out on my channel by the time
the edited version of this goes up.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, like it's just crazy. I feel like the world, like the general perceptions operate on such a, I'm going to be a little inflammatory. Operate on such a,
with you.
Yeah, operates on such a low maturity level. Like a lot of the perceptions on things like animation being for kids, VTubers being for kids or juvenile or lesser, things that aren't full of profanity and graphic violence and suggestive content being
I see what
lesser
you mean, but I'm gonna
juvenile.
I'm gonna push back a little bit on that though. It's not necessarily the root of it being immaturity. The root is ignorance. Okay,
fair.
Ignorance and an ignorance of one's ignorance,
and ignorance has no age limit.
Because I think we obviously no one's perfect, but we try to recognize when we don't know something
and then rectify that,
and then we learn. Yes. Some people decide that what they already think is correct based on what they've seen, and that's that.
True.
Like
and are happy with not knowing things sometimes.
The only cartoon or the only animated stuff I've seen is for kids, so animation must be for kids. That is that. They'll continue living their lives.
True.
And that works for them, I guess. Or even from outside, right? Looking at that extends to VTubers being like, oh, that's weird, or like, even the more unhinged cases of like, oh, how did this AI anime girl win a
Yeah, you know what, that ties into what you said earlier about, and I thought about it but I didn't say it, what you said about people's perception and associations, mental associations, because there are still a lot of people out there who associate VTuber with AI as being AI. They think VTubers there are people who genuinely think VTubers are AI, not people piloting an avatar. And it doesn't help.
AI VTuber, but it's also very, very disclosed that she's AI. So that's fine.
But it's also not helped by mainstream websites or whatever, journalism, using terms like AI.
Journalism.
Yeah. Using terms like AI to describe VTubers. Like AI content creators are on the rise. It's like, we're not AI.
Or even maybe sometimes they'll say like digital content creator, but it'll get telephoned into, oh, this is AI, when digital means on the internet.
So there's so many people who see VTuber and think that it's not a real person, and in their mind, VTubers are not real people and therefore aren't treated with the respect of being real people, even though they very much are real people behind the avatar.
We're kind of getting into a completely different topic here, but there are layers to that from the people who are like especially ignorant of it, being like, this is actually an AI person. But there's also like the subconscious layers of it, where people who obviously know that a VTuber is a person will still, to some extent, think of them a bit less as a person than they might seeing.
True. Kind of see us more as
face.
VTubers more as a character.
They don't see an actual face. Even if they cognitively know that it's a real person.
It's like a subconscious, what do you call it? Like suspension of disbelief or a cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Between what they know and what they see, or what their subconscious says. Yeah. That's true. And maybe that does play back into what we're talking about with the you know.
Yeah, to be fair, that's not entirely people's fault because, you know, there's
Yeah.
always going to be that mental thing of like, I don't see a human person. This isn't a human person.
And I think that's also probably ties into what we're talking about how people tend to treat things like animation or things that lack the NSFW subject matter or content or behavior, speech, as being juvenile, aimed at kids, because maybe they're just so overexposed to that stuff or so exposed to that stuff in their daily life, surrounded by other adults, that they think that anyone who doesn't do that stuff must be more childish.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, there's also cases like, you know, people tend to, I think of like live action actors as doing more because they're on camera,
right?
Even though like it's not necessarily more or less work. It's a bit of it's an overlapping skill set, but it's a different skill set because you know, obviously voice actors don't have to, you know, worry so much about
Facial
how they look and what they're
expression.
doing physically, but they have to put even more into the voice because that is the only thing that they're working with.
And if you're in the know and you've looked into it at all, you'll know that many voice actors do engage their bodies with hand movements and gestures and stuff to make their voice acting more believable.
Yes, but that's also a different kind of movement because they don't have to be worried about making their movements look good.
Yeah.
They're just doing it to get into the moment and the mode and the line.
True. But like, and you know, going back to what I was saying, it's also kind of like, I think a lot of people, because things like profanity and innuendo and whatnot are so prevalent in adult spaces, right? Spaces where people are surrounded by other adults, they tend to
have the knee-jerk reaction that where that isn't is for children.
Yeah, or at the very least is less for adults, right? Because then maybe they don't specifically say children, but subconsciously they're thinking, you know, less for adults, which ergo, like you said in your thought project with the, you know, thought experiment with the word associations, adult,
not adult equals child.
Exactly. And so it's kind of a train, a linking, you know, a linking series of thoughts that end up leading to child. Unfortunately, because, you know, it's the opposite for us, because in the environment we grew up in, our parents, they were the kind of people who were, you know, they definitely condemned the do as I say, not as I do method of parenting. Yeah. And they led by example. They taught by example. So they're like, you know, something that our father told me a lot when I was young. I don't know if he said it to you as much, but he said this to me often. And he would say, small minds use small words. He was encouraging me to use a broader vocabulary to express myself rather than falling back on profanities as a safe, easy fallback. He was encouraging me to.
Sometimes people don't like that phrase, but yeah.
Yeah, but you know, it's something my father said, and I respect my father, so I took it to heart. And you know, he led by example when he was around us, and that's not to say he never swore, because the background he came from, that was a very common thing. So sometimes it would slip. He's human, but he led by example by making a concerted effort not to. And we saw that, and we internalized that, and that helped to shape, you know, what became our normal. We grew up in an environment where swearing was not the norm. Therefore, for us, we don't see an adult not swearing as being somehow less adult, right? Less mature. Our parents are adults. We can't see them as anything but adults because they were adults when they had us, right? So in our minds, an adult not swearing isn't a less mature thing. In some ways, we see it as a more maturity in being able to effectively convey your thoughts in a deep and complex way without profanity.
Now, of course, I'm not going to police anybody. Honestly, that would be immature. But you know,
like I'm not telling other people what to do, but that's just the way I see things. And you know,
like, if it's a place where I cannot choose who I'm around, then like, you know, I can't really like dictate anything.
You're not going around saying language anytime someone swears.
Like at
that's
work,
stupid.
I'm not gonna be able to tell anybody like stop cursing, but in places where it's in my control, right? I'm not going to associate with that as much. But to go back to the word association experiment too.
Mm-hmm.
An interesting point that I had was I knew exactly what word you were going to say for each word that I gave. I had this list here on my phone. But funny enough, some of those answers that you gave are not even opposites. Red and blue are not opposites.
Oh, wait. What's the opposite of red on the color wheel? Is it green?
On the color wheel that people get taught in like grade school, it's across from green. Yeah, because it would be the combination of the other two primary colors.
No, you're right. And actually, when I was deciding on my channel colors way back when I started my YouTube and got my logo, first got my logo, gosh, actually that was more than 3 years ago that I got my logo. But when I was deciding that was like back in 2015 that I got my logo, or 2016, something like that.
Blue, and then went across,
which is orange. Yeah, the opposite of blue is actually orange, not red.
Now, well, it depends on if you're going with the like simple color wheel, if you're going like color pigments. Because actually, I was listening to Era's stream earlier, and like someone asked about like what color pairs well with green or whatnot.
Right.
And of course, me being a big superhero fan, I mentioned purple because the classic supervillain combination of green and purple.
Yeah.
And she said that purple is the opposite color of green. So I think in like more comprehensive like wheels, it's a little different.
Well, yeah, I actually
what you learn in grade school. But
when I was deciding my color, I was using the color theory wheel.
Okay. But yeah, like for one thing, red and blue aren't even the opposite. And for another one, when I said walk, you said run, right? There were more options than just run. You could have said jog, for one.
Oh,
and
not
others.
walk.
But yeah, like jog is different from walk, but it's not what people think of when they think of not that, because not gets extrapolated to the opposite. What is the easiest thing to think of for something that is not another thing? The opposite.
Interesting.
Or at least what they think of as the opposite.
Right. Huh. Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Like, it does make sense.
And like opposites aren't even always necessarily opposites, because like if you think of, what's the opposite of a dog? A cat, right? But what makes them opposites? Isn't it kind of just the culture that we are in?
Yeah, like the cats and versus dogs. Because like a lot of times they actually don't hate each other. Yeah,
there's literally, I hadn't even thought of about this. There's literally a Japanese phrase, fighting like dogs and monkeys.
Huh.
But in the USA, right, we would say fighting like cats and dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the reason why Star Fox is the way that it is with the what's it?
Team Star Fox versus Andros and his team. His
like
people.
the planets or whatever it is, being the dogs, and then Andros.
Oh, Corneria, right. General Pepper and the dog people.
Yeah, that's why the war is between dogs and monkeys. Literally that saying.
Interesting.
So yeah, like the culture influences what you think of in that way, right? Because maybe a Japanese person would think of dogs and monkeys as being opposite.
No, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Interesting.
The environment.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And that kind of leads, like I said, that leads perfectly off of how we said our environment, right? The environment we grew up in had a big hand in us ending up the way we have as adults who don't use profanity or innuendo, and that's our normal, right? And so we don't see it as anything less mature. But then there are other people who maybe they grew up hearing their parents using a lot of profanity, so that's their normal, right? And so it's just it is perspective and lived experiences do matter a lot there, and I guess the culture that you grew up in, right? And that you find yourself in.
Culture is one of the biggest environments that one exists in.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And like, yeah, no, you got a good point there. So it comes down to an issue of culture and perception, cultural perception, I guess. And the mainstream, because unfortunately the mainstream does often represent what the bulk of people see, think, like, and perceive, right? Which is why the hipsters who hate anything mainstream, they're also not necessarily correct, right? Because obviously
they're just a sheep of the other flock.
Exactly, sheep of the of the opposing flock. Yeah, because if hating something simply because it's popular isn't any more rational than liking something because it's popular.
Yeah, whether you're liking something because
any
it's
less
popular
irrational,
or hating something because it's popular, either way, you're reacting to something else.
Exactly, and that's another reason why we try to form our own opinions based on information we've taken in, and then our own thoughts on the matters, rather than just rolling with what others have said.
I mean, I'm not completely above it. I still hate Fortnite.
Yeah, but you don't hate Fortnite because it's popular. You hate Fortnite because of
it's annoying because it's popular. Okay,
no, it's annoying because of the type of people that have screamed endlessly about it being the greatest thing ever.
It's very popular with those people. Okay, we all have that one thing. I'm aware of it. Okay, I'm self-aware at least.
All right, fair enough.
Just throwing it out.
I honestly can't. I can't think of anything that I hate.
Nothing that you are averse to because you've seen it too much. Nothing.
I'm trying to think. I guess certain types of music, certain songs.
Oh god!
When a song is overplayed, so it's played to death on the radio, like like certain Adele songs and stuff. That's like, no, they're good songs, but I've heard them so much that I hate them now. It's like it's objectively it's a good song in my or at least in my opinion. Like, by all metrics, it's a good song.
Adele. She's obviously a very good singer. Yeah, I liked her songs for like 1 week when I was like an adolescent, and then I got tired of it because they all just feel the same
and got overplayed on the radio.
Something else
and got overplayed on the radio.
I wasn't even listening to the radio. I was a child. But
true.
Like, please sing about something else. You have nothing else going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess she has her thing. Some people like it. That's fine.
Well, I think that's also part of the reason because of us. We need variety too. Like we can't stay in one box and be content there. We get sick of it.
The literal most prevalent kind of song in all like the history of forever.
Well, love songs.
The love song. So yeah. Like failed love songs are like,
but even
not failed as in the song failed, but like the song about failed love.
Yeah,
that's Adele's thing. But yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can.
I thought you'd hear about our opinions on Adele.
Well, to be honest, I can understand though, because like even from my experience, it takes multiple failed attempts before you find the one that works. Ultimately,
like when you've got like 36 songs about failed relationships, it's like maybe you should try something different.
Yeah, but regardless, I mean, so it's like. But yeah, I totally get you though. But back on topic.
Yeah. Bring it home.
I think also though, to just lightly tie into that, maybe a lot of people too, they see animation as less because they weren't exposed to it enough after they had grown past their juvenile years, right? And therefore, in their brain, their perception is that animation is, well, it belongs in those juvenile years, right? Because they never watch. Because think about how a lot of people tend to go.
It's about video games.
Yeah, think about the pattern, right? You enjoy things like Pokemon as a kid. Then when you're in like middle school or high school, you're just like, I'm too old for that. But then in college age,
grow up and
then you hear about college age people going and playing Mario Kart in the dorm rooms, right? It's like, yo, getting the boys together and playing Mario Kart until the wee hours of the night, having a blast. It's like you get old enough that I feel like that's a a rite of passage of maturity, true maturity, that you don't hear about nearly as much anymore, though. But it is something you heard a lot from people of our age ranges, right?
Well, like,
because
even me, like, I've never been the type to discount anything. As I don't think I ever went through a phase, particularly of that's for kids. I don't like it anymore.
No, we never really had that.
But still, even though I, never did that, right? There was a point in time where I fell out of like wanting Transformers toys. It was around like after the like 2007 movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then during the period of time which shall not be named, one day I was just at the store,
the Panini,
and remembered. Oh, huh?
I used to call it the Panini. During the Panini.
The Panini?
During the Panini.
Why?
That's something I used to say back on. Well, because it was back when I would like frequent certain people's channels, like Pink and Rixby's and stuff. I would say the Panini to avoid the Twitch, punishing the certain terms. So I'll call it the Panini.
Okay.
People got it.
During the Panini. anyway. So, even though I was never the type to like discount something as for kids or whatever, then during the Panini, I suppose, one day I was just at the store and remembered, oh yeah, I make my own money now. I can walk down the toy aisle and look at the Transformers for nostalgia's sake, like a respectable adult. And then I got Optimus Prime and Starscream because they looked really good. Like it had been like 15 years since I'd seen a Transformers toy before, and the engineering has gotten so much better. But yeah,
that is true.
So even if you don't go through that, that's for kids, I don't like it anymore phase. There's still kind of can be that like falling out and then sometimes coming back in.
Well, to be fair, there are things we have done that with, right? Like you don't see either of us watching things like Sesame Street, Barney, Arthur, shows that
those are for
exactly, they literally are for kids. And so we do discount those. We're like, no, those aren't for us anymore. But that is a case where they are objectively for kids.
But like not a whole thing, right? Not like
an entire medium.
I don't like those anymore, or video games or whatever. And there's the common idea that video games, like there's all sorts of like fears of people like hating on guys that still play video games or whatever. It's like or even they'll say
that's actually topical right now.
Video games and like X or whatever. But but in reality, there is literally no difference. As long as it's in moderation, right? That's something that a lot of people would do well to think about. Moderation, as long as it's in moderation, just as with any other hobby, there's no difference between that and any other hobby. Like, is watching football so much better for like how long? How long is a football game?
In terms of like a televised football game, I'm not sure how long they actually run because the time on the clock is different.
A football game,
and you have to make sure it's the televised time, not the game clock, because the game clock
game takes 3 hours and 12 minutes to complete.
There you go.
Complete.
There you go.
Now, how is sitting on the couch with a beer and like wings or whatever and watching a football game for 3 hours any more reasonable than playing video games for 3 hours? You are sitting on the couch and doing a thing. In fact, actually, video games are more
interactive, more engaging.
Or like, but the same people who will like binge watch true crime documentaries for 5 hours will judge people for playing video games for 1, 2, or 3. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like if like somebody was spending too much money on like model train sets, that would be a problem too. Come on.
Or heck, spending too much money on anything, gambling, clothes, food,
Well, gambling is even lesser because honestly, you're not even like that.
But like junk food or whatever.
That's also an addiction. Video games can be an addiction. Food can be an addiction. Oh, food is one of the most widespread addictions.
Yeah, cigarettes or anything you smoke. Like, come on. Like
cigarettes are just like you're just paying for worse health. That's not even like
I know that's objectively a poor decision.
It's objectively not even helping your stress. It just makes you feel more on edge until you get the until you get the cigarette. Like I don't blame anybody who like got into it like when they were a kid or like didn't know better or whatever, and then they're having trouble getting off. I just think like if you're going into it knowing, yeah, because like if you're already an adult and then you get into cigarettes, like then you know you kind of went into it yourself. But anyway, I still not to push shade. Listen, I hope for anybody watching who smokes, please, you know, do yourself a favor and get off of it. You can do it. But
yeah.
Anyway, to get past the PSA, I guess. Yeah. Like it's not like video games are any more intrinsically immature. Like and people talk about like, oh, why would you watch people play video games on Twitch? Boy, you watch people playing a game when you watch a football game.
Yeah. Oh man. But back on topic. No, animation or okay, so I guess the what is the thing we can really take from this? Because that's what we always try to come back to in the conclusion. That way we're not just rambling for no reason.
Well, I kind of enjoy ranting, but
well, I
think we can take is maybe general audiences is a better branding than all ages.
Yeah, and in general though. Don't judge something based on a perceived target audience. You look at things more for their actual merit, right? Because something like animation that you may perceive as being more juvenile might actually be more mature and tackle some really deep topics in some very well written and mature ways. Like you talk about like the old X-Men cartoon and stuff and
Batman
and Batman the anime series and stuff. So like don't just write something off an entire medium based on
literally
a limited
Batman
perception.
The animated series has multiple episodes that go into a literal I don't know if saying the word like a very bad relationship with Joker and Harley Quinn. I don't think the particular A word maybe it like says shadow banned by YouTube or where, I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, and I have another takeaway. Don't or try to lessen the instinct to think of something with a label as like making everything else be the opposite. You know?
Yeah.
Like things are not always opposites. Things are not always dichotomies. Observe the nuance, observe the spectrum.
What we always come back to, nuance, right? And balance, right? Try to have a balanced perspective or perception on things.
Yeah, like for example, with literally the topic, the main topic of today, right? Not everything is for children or for adults. Heck, even just looking at like intended demographic, there are things for young children, preteens, teens, young adults, like even from the direction of like the people at the top, like there are a bunch of different demographics that they try to hit even when they're looking at just the numbers.
Exactly. So like, yeah. And if anything, if you're working on like something like content creation or game creation, stuff like that, you might benefit from not having that kind of a narrow perspective or perception on this topic and kind of realize you don't need to put in, copious profanity or graphic violence in order for your thing to appeal to adults, but by making something that has the mental appeal for adults, but it's still safer for those a little bit younger, you're actually going to have a broader audience scope. And you don't have to make it more juvenile. You don't have to dumb it down to be able to have that broader audience, right? I mean,
Yeah.
over the time of my channel, I have had viewers from as young as 13 to, or in the range of because the analytics are like in chunks. So I think it's like 13 to 18 and then 18 to 24 and so on. 25 to 35 or 40, something like that. So I've had my audiences ranged from the 13 to whatever range all the way up to about 45 in age ranges over the life of my channel. And, that's because I don't push away nor talk down to the younger viewers, at least viewers I can tell are younger, because obviously I don't encourage anyone to be posting their age in chat. That's generally not safe. I actually encourage not sharing personal information here or in my Discord. But, you can kind of tell sometimes from their behavior or the way that they type and stuff like that there might be a little on the younger side. But I don't talk down to those people. And I've seen some surprising maturity from those who I could clearly tell were younger viewers in the audience. And then Bill can talk on the level of adults. And, a lot of people have, over my life anyway, have commented on my conversational skills and enjoying having a lot of deep conversation with me as adults, right? On a variety of topics. So I don't dumb down my content, because even though I'm safer for younger viewers than most content creators, I don't need to target them to be suitable for them. And I don't need to treat them like they're any lesser. They're growing into adults just like we did. It's actually better to treat them with respect and show a good example. And in doing so, you can kind of you can have a broader age range appeal, and you can still do the content you want to do, or make the product you want to make, or tell the story you want to tell. And you don't have to just throw in a bunch of gratuitous stuff for the sake of it, in order to feel like you're making something for an adult, right?
Yeah.
Now, it's one thing to say put an 18 plus label because you don't feel like dealing with minors. I get it. Some people aren't equipped for it mentally. Yeah. Fine. That's fine. But you don't have to shoehorn quote adult end quote stuff to truly be mature, right? Don't have such a narrow extremes perspective. It doesn't have to be this or that. It can be both. You can be somewhere in the middle and appeal to both, and still, have some depth and I think and nuance, right? And I think that's what we can really pull from this. Like you said, Transformers 1, going back to the very start of the discussion and the very topic that inspired this whole episode, and that
they shouldn't have tried to force the advertisement to be trying to get the kid audience when the product they already had and were trying to sell was already suitable for adults.
Yep. But still appealing to the kids, because it's Transformers. It's always going to appeal to kids.
I mean, there wasn't any cursing, other than, I guess some people wouldn't think of this as cursing, but Bumble, everybody saw in the trailer of Bumblebee trying to call himself Bad A Tron.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was no swearing other than that. Obviously no gore, because it's robots. Well, not robots, but robot implies no.
The phrase is robots in disguise, so we'll just colloquially say robots. But yeah,
mechanical beings. Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, and
we've talked about that. Yeah,
the Michael Bay movies actually kind of make it look more gory, even though it's metal with
true
energon and stuff. But this, didn't even have that. It was really cool action and some heavy themes of classism,
and morality, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Free will, like,
yeah, like
not free will, autonomy, like
Autonomy.
self-autonomy.
right.
Yeah.
So it's like they had a good product, and they shot themselves in the foot with the poor marketing for the first trailer.
And the kids in the audience would still enjoy the cool fights because cool robots fighting is cool.
Yeah.
They don't have to think about it, and they don't have to get the themes. Maybe they will later. If they already like the movie and they keep watching it later, they'll be like, oh snap, this actually has really deep themes.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, yeah, it's
I really hope they do another movie, but unfortunately, I think
it performed poorly in the box office.
Yeah, the relative failure.
That's how the bigwigs always do.
Well for it.
That's how the bigwigs always do. And if it's a failure on the administrative end of things, and then that causes the thing to do poorly, they always take it as, oh, well, this doesn't have enough of an audience to justify bankrolling another. Right. And it's such a, again, narrow-minded perception from a point of ignorance that results in us having less, this is why we can't have nice things,
throw the baby out with the bathwater. They don't think, there's something here, but we made a mistake. It's like, no. The customers don't want this at all.
Yeah. Oh, God. And there's so many cases of that. Don't get me started on that, because that'll be a whole nother episode in and of itself.
Yeah.
Shoot. So many disappointing situations. But anyway, not to end on that downer note, but yeah. So enrich your mind with a more nuanced perception. Don't get too settled in one, notion, a preconceived notion or a conclusion that isn't well enough informed, and look at things from such a dichotomy, right? It can only be two things.
Always opposites.
Yeah, they aren't always an opposite. Kind of situation.
Challenge your assumptions.
True, because you'd be surprised at how much mature, mentally mature stuff you can find in things that you would previously think are meant for kids.
I mean,
we've been surprised by that many times in our own personal lives.
But just beyond, even beyond just this, it's just something that can help in a lot of areas. Challenge your assumptions.
Yeah, exactly. Animation, VTubers, games, shows, books, what have you. Challenge your assumptions. Don't look at things so narrowly
and white.
Exactly. Some things are, but not many things. Alrighty.
I mean, challenge them. That doesn't mean that they're always going to be nuanced, but just think about it.
Yeah, exactly. I think the main culprit in a lot of this is ignorance, right? I think that's the main culprit in a lot of it, is just having this idea, this preconceived notion, and not being willing to take in more information or trying something out, right, before making a judgment about it, right? And so a lot of the people who think animation is for kids just haven't found or haven't tried out many of these animated things that were surprisingly mature, in the right ways, mature in the true ways. And a lot of people who hate VTubers and see VTubers as inherently juvenile because animation juvenile, whatever. They haven't found people like us. It's not to sound cocky, but they haven't found people like us.
Not like us.
God, no, don't evoke that.
Not like that. Okay, whatever.
But and then like people who may dislike this, maybe something that they may have overheard about. Maybe you'll actually like it if you try it for yourself. Anyway. Had to throw that one in there. I had to squeeze that one in there. All right.
Wait, what? Sorry, I didn't. I think my brain is fried. I didn't catch.
I said if there's something that you don't like just because you've overheard about it, maybe try it for yourself, and you might be surprised. But anyway, alrighty. So that's it for us for today. Yeah, we've gotten all the all the material we can. We've squeezed the lemon dry. So.
I've gotten all the smart out of my brain. Now I'm left with dumb. So let's wrap it up.
Yeah. So this has been CounterPick New Perspectives. Hopefully we've given you some new perspectives on the topic. I like that as an outro. I think I'm going to keep that. So that just came out the top of my head. Pull that one out of my hat that I don't have.
Pull it out of my hair.
There you go. So yeah. So
in there like
I am
Quills just holding the Chaos Emerald in there.
Right, yeah. Or tails. Yeah, I don't get that. Anyway, to come back out of left field, as I introduced myself at the beginning, I am the Scuff Doctor, Samuel Ray, and next to me is
the Professor Prime.
Psy Prime.
Yeah, Psy Prime, Professor Prime. I wear many hats, except usually I don't wear a hat. The mad scientist with the twists. That's one of them. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm still workshopping. I think I say every time that I'm workshopping.
If you enjoy
workshopping, the workshop has cobwebs and.
Okay. Well, let me wrap this up. If you enjoyed this, make sure that you follow this or subscribe to it if you're on YouTube. This is posted on podcast platforms, many of them, probably the one of your choice. So feel free to follow the show there and give us some feedback, in the comments on YouTube, in reviews on some of the podcast platforms, and on social media, whether that be Twitter/X or Blue Sky. We are on there now as well. And so just, use hashtag CounterPickPod, all one word, and let us know what you thought, and if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe, and head over to Psy's channels. He's Psy Prime everywhere. You can find him on Twitter, X,
and the word Prime.
Yep, you can find him. You can find him on the socials. You can find him here on YouTube.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter. I'm not calling it X. You can find me on Blue Sky. I'm there because I guess I have to be.
Diversification on your platforms.
Honestly, same for both there and Twitter. Okay, but
yeah, you got to diversify your platform,
I suppose.
Yeah. So, yeah, go check his stuff out. He's got a bit of a different flavor, but you get a taste of what he's got to offer here, a look inside his mind. So, yeah, if you like some of the stuff he said, pop on over to his channel. He focusing so far more on videos than streams, it looks like, but that's just another angle of content creation, right? And everyone finds the angle that suits us. I'm a bit more of a streamer type.
Videos. I like editing. I just have to make myself do it more.
Yeah. So go encourage him to do it more. Anyway, that's it for us. We're gonna head on out for this rest of this night. For the live viewers anyway. And thank you to everyone who popped by to check it out. And in the audio only form, this goes up shortly after the live stream. But if you feel like coming by the live stream, just come to my channel, s_factor_sam, and you can chime in to the discussion comments, and we do involve you and acknowledge what you're saying and add it to the discussion live. So feel free to take part in that, and we enjoy getting feedback in all sorts of forms. So all right, you have a great rest of your day, morning, afternoon, night, whatever time it is, your corner of the world. And we will see you in the next episode. We're going to try to continue this monthly again, like we were doing for a while. All right. See you later.
I'm going to make some dinner.
Yep. Peace.